I feel bad for Zven especially because all the fans just say, man, the team was so much better when Doublelift was here, and it must make him feel like shit all the time. Which is actually really good for me because I have like this mental advantage over him 24/7. Because, you know, it's like you're just trying to play your best for TSM, and then all the fans are like, man, it was so much better when he wasn't on the team. And it just, if the players were able to play without like any pressure or something, I think they could be really, really good. But because of all the expectations, because it's TSM and the fan base is so rabid, like, I think they just lose the mental game every day. Like, I think across the board they have like solid players, but they lose because they have like no teamwork. And yeah, that's the tragedy of TSM.
If there's one thing that pros hate, it's being compared to another player. No one likes that, so gotta feel for Zven.
Well, certainly do. As hello and thank you for joining us here for Game 3 between, I don't know, two teams, Team Liquid and TSM. Let's take a look at the starting roster. Selecting blue side for today, it is Team Liquid, still undefeated in the top lane, Impact. In the jungle, Xmithie. Mid Jensen, bot Doublelift, support CoreJJ, and their coach Kane.
And facing them on the red side today, it's going to be TSM. In the top lane, Broken Blade. In the jungle, Akaadian. Mid lane are going to be Bjergsen. Bot and support will be Zven and Smoothie with Coach 6.
And Azale, Team Liquid is the best team in the league. They've shown the rest of the league how to win. Thoughts?
Well, all you got to do is kill the Nexus, forehead.
Hey!
100% Nexus kill rate. Very impressive stuff. But all jokes aside, they dominate the map objectives. They've gotten Baron in every game. They're taking over 70% of the dragons, and they are dominating the game. They're majorly in control for almost the entire game. And the only real point of criticism you can give them at all is maybe they had a bit of a shakier start yesterday against Golden Guardians. The first time that any team was actually able to knock down even all the outers against TL, but that is still a long ways from beating them.
And on the other side of the matchup are an inconsistent TSM who are still looking to solidify their identity.
Yeah, Zven has shown that he can play mages. This guy actually has, you know, an over 90% win rate on Cassio in solo queue. He got to bring it out yesterday, so they are, you know, still experimenting. They're trying to be proactive. They're trying to do some different stuff with different picks. And you have to say Bjergsen also was very strong on the Jace. 100% KP is very impressive, but a lot of players are left with some questions around Broken Blade. I think we all know that he's a very talented young player, that he's very strong mechanically, but some of his decision-making, some of the mistakes he's going for and fights where he's overreaching perhaps are getting punished very heavily. And that's where TSM, you know, needs to be a bit more restrained, needs to focus more on their team play and their coordination. Because as Doublelift said, that's their weakness. They're not as good as a team as they are individually.
And Liquid certainly have been both good individually and as a team, which asks the question, who can stop the undefeated menace? Well, Ezreal, Cassio, the first two bans for Liquid. Lucian banding kind there from TSM is going to be joined by Urgot, who we are starting to see pop up on the red side ban list quite a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the other OPs all got nerfed, right? So there's, you know, Kali, Aurelia, Cassio, there's a ton of different champions that all got hit at the same time, which were kind of taking up ban spots. So we are seeing more teams banning away Urgot and some teams not doing it, much to their regret, as we saw last game.
There's also an Aurelia ban there for Liquid, mostly targeted. Actually, I guess both TSM solos play it a lot, but just some respect to still the power of that champion, especially in top lane. Nocturne, the final ban there for TSM, away from Xmithie, and that leaves a lot on the table here for Team Liquid.
Yeah, Sion is up. Wouldn't be shocked to see TL just going that route. They generally like to have impact on a tank, so... Oh, wow. Just blind Yorick. Okay, I respect it. I will say, though, going up against Broken Blade, who loves to play carries, Yasuo actually destroys Yorick. It is statistically the best matchup in the game against Yorick. Yasuo is actually very good on this patch. I would love to see something aggressive like a Yasuo, like a Renekton. You know, these sorts of picks can absolutely blast Yorick.
Well, we'll start things off with Thresh here for Smoothie, who is going to forego his Alistar today to take a different engaged playmaking champion into the mix. TSM, of course, still have the options. I do like Yasuo as potential, but we'll see if they want to start the draft off a little more slowly.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get to see it, but I do think that Yorick blind pick first pick is super punishable. But the other team has to be willing to play something risky. The champions that do beat Yorick are more high variance champions, right? Carries that have dashes, carries that can actually ignore his cage, be able to easily AoE and deal with the ghouls. We'll see if they're going to go for anything like that, because if you do just put him into a fairly standard matchup, I think Yorick does well into most meta champions. He is highest win rate top laner in the game right now. He is exceptional at pushing turrets, and excited to see how Impact looks on him, because it is a different look for Team Liquid.
Certainly is, as Sivir will be locked in for Team Liquid, which is not a big departure there for Doublelift, but seems to be one of the go-to marksmen given all the changes. Liquid also contemplating their next pick here. See if they do want to give a pick over to Jensen, or maybe just take a support while they still can before Phase 2 rolls around. Looks like a lot of conversation here between Kane and the rest of his players, and the decision is Alistar, so they will give support to CoreJJ.
Okay, now we'll see if TSM wants to kind of create some parity, if they want to grab a marksman here for Zven, or if they want to risk that getting kind of banned out a little bit and him being pushed down in the priority, because if you want to get some of the strongest counters into Yorick, now would be the time to do it before they can throw out some bans to actually protect him. And Jax is going to be the answer. Jax is also another champion that is strong into Yorick, but I do think it's more manageable from the Yorick side, simply because this guy is not as strong early. He cannot bully you as hard early, but he does have, with the Leap Strike, a very easy way of getting in and out of the cage. Parry, obviously going to be very effective against not only Yorick's damage, but also the ghouls there too. But it is a winnable matchup for Yorick.
We'll see that TSM will take a top laner, I assume, and looks like banning jungle is now all after the first one. Gragas also comes to mind as one to take away from Xmithie, but of course, his Lee Sin is also very good. And I think Liquid are going to do what you said, take out picks for Zven there in bot lane.
It is also worth noting this is the first Jax of the LCS split, so getting that and pairing that up with a Sejuani, you have two melee champions in the top side, which can proc that Sejuani passive very quickly. If you can put Yorick behind, the champion becomes very, very worthless. You do essentially just kind of have to suicide split push, run it down a side lane, try to pressure turrets, because Yorick from behind has some of the worst team fighting in the game, I feel, for a top laner that is fairly meta these days. And it's going to be a very contentious matchup in the top lane. I almost feel like regardless of what else gets picked, that is where a lot of the focus of the map becomes, because Jax is such a powerful scaling pick. If you get him ahead, he's going to dominate. And likewise, if Yorick has free reign in that lane and gets ahead, he's going to be knocking down turrets left and right.
And I think for TSM, we have seen some good early games from Broken Blade. I think back to his Aatrox, I believe first Cooney had a great game there, but we'll see if he can get the Jax lifted off and taking over the mid game as sort of the expected bans here. Finished in Phase 2, there was Draven and Kalista for Liquid, and the Gragas ban I spied earlier will also go down. So we'll see what TSM do want to take here.
I'd say Ashe is probably a pretty likely pick. You can go for things like Ashe or Varus if you want a fairly strong laning phase. Kai'Sa is another option, not as strong in the laning phase, but certainly has very powerful scaling, and that is going to be the choice. So despite quite a few marksman bans for thrown out and a second round pick for Zven, he's not really pushed down the tier list that much.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of the early game options taken away in a lot of ways. I think Kalista traditionally wants to play very aggressive in her lanes. Draven, of course, has to play aggressive in his lanes, but Zven is a very, late game competent player, does like the Ezreal, does like the Kai'Sa, so I think TSM are happy with this trade. Blind mid though for Liquid means Syndra here for Jensen.
And the truth is, if you're TL, you're probably happy with TSM going scaling picks, simply because TL, I think, is so incredibly confident in their mid and late game, in their team fighting. That is where they have really reigned supreme. Even when they don't get big leads in the early stages, they always seem to be able to find that one fight that leads to Baron, and then the game just ends. And TSM, their team play is where they have been lacking. Playing a split push style with Jax, playing a late game comp with Kai'Sa, I think is a more complex way to play the game. And that is maybe why we're seeing some of these early game proactive picks being banned out, like the Draven, the Aurelia, and this Kalista.
Well, there's the Lee Sin we kind of expected from Xmithie, and Bjergsen decides on Zoe as his last pick here, a champion that has risen up and up in play.
Yeah, this is the 5th Lee Sin pick here for Xmithie, 5 out of 8 games. Pretty much you leave it up, he will play it. Very, very effective on this champion. Can certainly have a lot of early game impact, but also does seem to really find good angles in the mid game, starting those team fights, kicking in members, and see how effective he's going to be here.
Well, like you said, it's pretty standard stuff between the two sides. I have to feel that does favor Team Liquid, because every game right now favors Team Liquid. TSM, though, deciding to fight them head on. No surprises here, really, in the draft.
Well, I mean, I disagree. Jax is the first time it's getting picked. I mean, I think it's standard across the rest of the map, but top lane, first pick Yorick, as well as the Jax here for TSM. that is a different look for both these teams. Impact certainly has played carry champions, but it's rare to see TL playing a full-on split push style top laner. And I think a lot of the game really is going to come down to how effective these two guys can be in the top lane. Whoever gets the lead is going to have a monumental edge.
And as much as I am a fan of giving your newer players tanks, you know, especially given how strong a lot of them are in the current meta, Broken Blade is a player known for more of that carry style. If you're trying to get your newest member to the league and to your team acclimatized into your environment, especially early on, I think you just let him play his style and try and support him that way, and then he kind of pays it forward in the latter part of the season when you need him to play Sion every game.
No top laner wants to hear those words.
You know what? If Sion stays in the state he is, those are the words he'll have to hear. But today it is Jax. As you mentioned, it's the first time for Jax here in the LCS this year. I'll see if Broken Blade can have a performance. The TSM fans are fired up today. If they're ever going to grab a win, this is one to get.
Yeah, I mean, for all the criticism, for all the questions that has been thrown the way of TSM, a win here would speak volumes.
30 seconds until the minions spawn.
It's a rowdy crowd.
I'm loving it.
Looks like TSM is moving down for a bit of deep vision. Zven awards the red buff there, but nothing too insane to kick things off. Smoothie is going to hang out in the brush for a little while longer, but probably just trying to get a ward done, I'd guess.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. As Impact can get pushed out of this bush.
Paddling, not yet. Does force him out, get the ward down. TSM with good coverage.
Yeah, worth noting that Impact is going Conqueror. That has seemed to be the standard in Pro. Grasp also another quite good option that is very common in Yorick in solo queue. So a lot of the lane really does just come down to, honestly, like how accurate you can be on Yorick using your E, the Morning Mist. Hitting that, summoning the ghouls, every time you hit that, you're going to get a significant amount of HP off of the opposing top laner. And that really does often dictate if you're winning or losing a lane, just how accurate you can be with that and how Broken Blade is going to do actually avoiding it. And you can see Impact is actually setting up for the wave to push towards him. That is why he's grouping those minions. He knows Jax is starting topside, so he doesn't want to push. He wants to be sitting under his turret at the time that Akaadian could be up here looking to gank him. So again, smart little moves, similar to what we actually saw coming out last game from Haunter. When you know the jungler's on that side of the map, be careful.
Quick counter-strike there from Broken Blade, pops the corrupting pot and gets a couple of autos in, with the Conqueror also helping out, and a very early meeting at the Crab. Akaadian in onto Xmithie, gets the stun down. They both got red buff. Drowsy there for the Syndra as Jensen can't really make it to this fight, and Akaadian will force Xmithie away.
Yeah, pushes him straight off. Both junglers going red buff to that Scuttle, and Akaadian coming out on top, being very tanky. It's so hard to actually duel into that Aftershock as just the level 2 on Lee Sin, so and he's going to be sent up to the top side, but will be spotted out on this, and Akaadian may come up and try to challenge here as well. Looks like he just wants to head straight for this Scuttle and try to go 2.
Yeah,
Bjergsen should finish.
Prio, I think, and Broken Blade also pretty far up in his lane, so it's going to be close. They both have Smite. Xmithie does get it.
Yeah, Smithie didn't want to smite this, because now what this means is Akaadian gets to chase you into your jungle. You start up a camp, well, he has smite and you don't. So even just getting over there in time to force out the smite was a pretty big deal. Yorick is under his turret because he was holding that wave. It means Broken Blade can make the roam faster. This is very likely just going to be their blue buff, but Smithie does have his smite back. It's just too risky to stay.
Yeah, he's left the area, and I think rightly so. Akaadian does get the buff.
Pressure.
TSM playing well in the early game.
Yeah.
Redemption popped. A classic with Zoe there in mid lane as Bjergsen tries to get the push down, and Smoothie does land a hook, but just a bit of damage here onto the turret for Zven. Sivir is getting pushed in early. We saw this kind of in our last matchup as well.
Yeah, definitely the case. We'll see how much Doublelift can pick up, but this is just honestly a strong early game showing there from Akaadian. You know, winning the duel at one red buff, forcing out the smite on the other Scuttle rather than being able to actually chase him in to that blue buff and take that away. So just kind of the continuation of pressure. It's something that we saw earlier today against Onda, where he was kind of always being punished. Anytime a resource was spent, the team would punish him for that. And this is TSM looking to do a similar thing here. And as a result, they have a slight ulti.
And that nice little ward will spot Xmithie, so Akaadian knows he's safe to roam over to his blue and actually complete the delayed 3 buff here. Xmithie usually one that's known for pathing very well around the jungle, has been outfoxed, at least in this instant, as TSM continue to track Team Liquid's jungler.
Yep, wards on all his camps. They know exactly where he is. They're likely even going to get to see him recall after this buff, so they're going to know his timings on when he can be out on the map, and it gives the TSM members free reign to play, knowing that the jungler is not there.
Gromp will be completed soon for Akaadian, but Zven and Smoothie again. Hook does not connect, but Doublelift does use the spell shield and gets no mana, so perhaps the next one will ring true. Xmithie has been spotted recalling as Bjergsen with a drowsy going into Jensen, forcing the cleanse away.
Really nicely done there from Bjergsen, getting the early summoner out, and that means that they can come back and look to attack him. You know, bring in the Sejuani, try to actually get that passive out and perhaps get a kill. Next sleep could be very, very dangerous for him, so we may see Jensen having to play a bit more on the defensive, and this is really the first time I can remember this split where it feels like he has been more on the back foot in the laning phase.
Yep, you're going to deny a ton of minions as he shoves that wave into the turret. Now going to take his recall, of course, as well. Scuttle Crab back up. Xmithie wants to grab this left side crab for the second time. Impact's going to help him out. Poor crab is very, very confused. And that should be a simple finish there for the jungler.
It's a crab wrangler. Caging him up.
There are too many good Yorick skin ideas. As Akaadian is here in the top lane. As you mentioned, melee gank's always nice, but here's the 2v2 starting. Stun gonna land, but has to move away. They spotted Xmithie, and everyone just backing away for a little while longer. Akaadian, sorry, looks for the stun, but doesn't land the passive.
And one of the things that is kind of interesting to note is you can see Impact is actually prioritizing using his Q to trade, which means he doesn't have nearly as many Graves, and as a result doesn't have as many fools.
CoreJJ in onto Smoothie though, heal burnt there by Zven, gonna try and keep shooting him down. The Ignite not the call this time around. Zven with the damage, flash play for Smoothie, looking for the hook, and there's first blood! TSM in the 2v2, take down their new support.
So well done there by TSM. It's CoreJJ who is going forward, but they just straight up turn it around on him, dropping the Ignite. All summoners were blown from the TSM bot lane, but they come up with the 2v2 kill. It really feels like they are the ones with the full court press across the map.
Pressure starting to mount now. TSM up 1,000 gold here in the early game as Bjergsen returns with 2 Dark Seals and a Null Magic Mantle here.
Yeah, strong early buy. Definitely a lot of focus there on laning. Likely expecting Jensen to be rushing those Sork boots also is going to answer that quite well. And here it is one more time. CoreJJ looking to get a nice trade in here, but the hook does hit, wrapping around the minions there. It's the lasso skin on a cow. It's an unfair advantage from the start, but they do turn around with the Ignite, and then Smoothie finding the flash play. Zven flashing forward, but he was already dead.
Looks like Doublelift's heal might have been a second too late as well. Didn't catch that the first time around, but regardless, Smoothie with the first blood gold. Quick Moby boots for him as a result. Akaadian back towards the top side, covering for Broken Blade, who seems to already be in pretty good order here in his 1v1. He's going to try and kill the Maiden. Does get the stun down, and will be able to hop out once the cage goes. Hex Splash hit for CoreJJ. Does get onto Zven, though, and that's a great stun follow-up. And TL answer in kind as Doublelift takes down Zven.
That is twice today we have seen AD carries with their support roaming, getting caught out by the Alistar. Zven walks up, he had no summoners. You cannot be that far ahead without knowing where the Alistar is, and TL takes an easy kill.
Really gonna move in, try and get whatever CS he can, gets the cannon. But Demolish is gonna land. There should be a plate over as Team Liquid's duo lane do claim one.
Yeah, and despite the 2v2 kill, that was great from TSM, so well played. Their bot lane is now behind, right? Because the kill went on to Doublelift, whereas Smoothie got first blood, and Doublelift gets 2 turret plates here, and they're losing the experience also.
Zven is back, but can't be happy after that exchange. Will take the creeps as he can, so the CS will stay even, but gold, I think, has to be in favor of Doublelift after that exchange.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's going to be about 300 ahead, a little bit more, and feeling very good about their position in the lane, despite that early mess-up.
Well, looks like maybe the back will just be traded as Akaadian going for yet another invade, wants his blue buff for a second time, as Bjergsen here ready to have the donation. Zven's going to cancel that recall there for CoreJJ. Ward in the brush will spot him trying to get out. And looks like Bjerg, I assume, completed that blue steal as well. So we are sort of splitting the map now. Xmithie was just down to the bot side earlier. Looks like he might be transferring back down there again. And we've seen a lot of focus in mid and top here for TSM.
Yeah, Akaadian certainly having a lot of good early pressure, and despite the fact that he's sitting at 0-0-0, I think he has had a very effective first 9 minutes of the match. especially when you are against the Lee Sin and you can actually be the one taking away more buffs and out pressuring. But here they go.
The combo onto Smoothie. Sivir all popped. Here's Xmithie for the wraparound. Is barely needed. Does want to dive in for an assist, but Doublelift is able to claim the kill.
And now they can push up. Xmithie didn't blow flash or ult. Zven is still flashless, so they could easily threaten a dive. They're actually just going to have Xmithie wrap around, and he's going for the blue buff now, but Zven is going to have to respect the potential that he could be getting dove, and likely means he'll be missing even more.
Gonna actually find Xmithie. Now gets confirmation, but as you said, he's gonna 1v2, so can't do much. Akaadian topside, ults in onto Impact. Broken Blade looking for the kill, he will grab it.
That pressure on top side paying dividends here for Akaadian. He got the flash his last time around. Now his ultimate is up. That is a big wave at the turret with no TP on Impact, and if that Yorick is falling too far behind, it's going to get rough for him in that 1v1.
Here's Bjergsen, able to roam over, does make CoreJJ very drowsy. There's no follow-up. Xmithie will be forced off the Drake, however. TSM do make sure the objectives stay even, and Broken Blade gets a lot of damage and plates off that turret.
Yeah, Broken Blade gets the kill gold. He got 3 turret plates there. He's now going to be 800 gold ahead in that matchup, which is really, really big. And if you fall behind that Jax too early, it's pretty depressing because there's not usually a chance that you can't say, oh, well, maybe later, right? Because the Jax is one of the strongest scaling champions in the game. So we'll see what Impact can get done.
Drowsy, good juke from Jensen, as always. Nice redemption from Bjergsen, just for move speed and a bit of extra damage, but into the lane has equalized a little. However, this lane, the balance was tipped by Akaadian.
Yeah, it definitely was, and it's the counter-strike and then Akaadian coming forward, and nice ultimate does land. They know that he is flashless, and Impact just gets absolutely burst down there. I feel like we got to see Xmithie try to get up there and help him out. It really is a contentious matchup, and you can't play as though Impact is just on a regular tank. Yorick cannot afford to fall behind like this.
Smoothie, ooh, Flay, I think maybe predicting Xmithie to come in, or maybe just wanting to keep CoreJJ away. Liquid, though, do win the battle for Vision Ward as CoreJJ initiates onto Akaadian. Lantern is there, kickback's there, into the Syndra ulti. Akaadian's still living for a little while longer. A good amount of heal, but not enough to save him. Jensen does grab it.
Yeah, nicely done there from Xmithie and CoreJJ, the kick back. It's a lot of ultimates committed, but they get the kill. They're going to grab the dragon here also, and feeling very, very good about that. As you say, it's still that split map situation, but Broken Blade, the more time he gets alone with Impact, the better he is going to be feeling, and that is going to be a good way for TSM to keep some ground in this game.
Already has Tiamat now with a fade, building in towards that Trinity Force, and actually managed to grab himself a CS lead as well. See if TSM want to use that top lane strength to maybe start a Rift Herald or just get some pressure down, but Bjergsen is harassing Jensen here in this mid lane. He's out of mana, and Bjergsen is very healthy. It's a Lost Chapter procs as well.
And that's a lot because they're stealing away those blue buffs, right? They've taken multiple blue buffs away from TL. The last one went straight onto Bjergsen, and just barely doesn't catch him with the redemption. That was trying to delay that recall and stop the out-of-mana Jensen from getting back there. They're going to know that he did recall, though, so they're actually taking that time to start up the Rift Herald, and TL doesn't really look like they're in position to contest it. Smoothie is moving over, and CoreJJ is coming up, so we'll see if they want to try to commit to this.
Yeah, they're trying something. Broken Blade's going to jump Bjergsen here, though. It's a 3v3. Cage is nice to kind of stop Akaadian from really getting in there, and now Broken Blade maybe a little too far forward. Watch from Xmithie. There's Akaadian and Bjerg flashing forward. They're trying to steal the kill as Akaadian grabs the stun and does gift it over. Now Smoothie's here as well. Akaadian just needs to line it up. He already burnt the ult, but a flash hook from Smoothie will miss onto Impact. The bubble misses as well. The Ignite is down. Impact juking around is finally failed by Bjergsen's auto.
Yeah, he dodged so much, but there's just no way out of that without the flash. He can't get over the wall, and TSM come up with 2 kills, get the summoners, and will still be rewarded with this Rift Herald here.
It feels like TSM maybe went too far trying to contest for the Drake down there on the bot side. This time it's TL that pulled a bunch of people to the objective and still come out down on the play.
And that should be first turret as well for TSM. Solo gold going to be going on a Broken Blade. Bad goes to worse as they get the first turret without even having to drop the Rift. Now you can actually use this Rift Herald mid or bot and try to knock down another. They are sitting in a very good spot here, but CoreJJ looking to come in here onto Zven. He's got a flash.
Got his thumbs there, Smoothie behind as well. TP in from TSM. It's Broken Blade going to try and influence yet another lane. Smoothie needs to line up the hook, but there's no chase to be had.
And you can see Doublelift was actually blocking for CoreJJ there in case the hook came through. He could spell shield that, and here is the play one more time. They blast cone in. This is spotted out by the ward, just out of vision. And Jensen had just based, so I was pretty surprised to see a TL actually trying to commit for this. You know, Impact is losing his lane. Broken Blade is there first. Bjergsen is going to be there first. And yeah, great, you brought up CoreJJ, but that is not nearly as big of an effect as having Bjergsen here. So Xmithie taking so much damage, getting knocked down right off the bat, and there's no real way for them to fight back at this point, despite the fact that Jensen is just now arriving. This is really just a very poor decision from TL to contest when full mid lane priority was TSM's side.
TSM still with that Herald. See where Akaadian does want to drop it. Unfortunately for him, turret plating has now fallen off. There is no extra plates to collect, but Broken Blade will be happy with the 5 he got off his own top turret. And I think Bjerg's been harassing down mid a bit as well.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point in the game, with Jax this strong, all you have to do is play around the Jax. Unless TL can actually turn something around and get some picks onto Broken Blade here, which is going to be very hard to do, even in a 2v1, let alone a 2v2. It's going to be very, very rough. I mean, Impact is essentially just doomed for the rest of the game in the 1v1. You need multiple members here, so Akaadian just has to shadow the Jax and allow him to continue extending that lead.
It's also never going to be a 1v1 really, as Akaadian is looking to shadow the Jax for as often as he can. That does give Team Liquid leverage in bot lane. Doublelift has been doing well there versus Zven, although they are both farming about evenly. As you see the plate difference there, TSM got a significant bump in gold, mostly attributed to Broken Blade. He'll be happy to already have his Trinity Force finished. With Infernal back up in 110 though, again, I think TL know they have to attack this side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, when your top player is down 2,300 gold against Jax, that is just brutal. So TL will take the advantages where they can get them, and certainly there is a big edge for Doublelift. The question is now, who is going to have a bigger effect? It's bot versus top, essentially, across the map here. Doublelift is going to have to be the guy to really make things happen, and we've seen Sivir struggle to really get involved without a proper frontline ahead of them, and they do not have any true frontliners on this team. There's no Sion, there's no Ornn, there's no big tank to really cover for Doublelift and make up for the fact that Sivir is very low range and hard to get involved in the fights.
Have to love the narrative, though. Arguably the greatest player to ever play in the LCS versus one of the newest members of TSM, no doubt. Looking to each carry the game for their respective teams. Drake up in 20 seconds. Blue buff was donated over. Drowsy onto Xmithie. Throwing a jungler falling asleep before the objective. Goes diving onto Xmithie and he explodes to Akaadian.
Really nicely done. They get the kill on Smithie and the cleanse off of Jensen, the heal off of Doublelift. No way they can even try to challenge for this dragon now. They drop Rift mid. They'll go straight over to the Infernal. Might not be able to kill the mid lane turret, but they're definitely going to get the dragon. And Broken Blade is actually threatening to roam around here.
Smoothie here as well. Looks like Kai'Sa plus Sejuani is more than enough to finish off that Drake. So they'll get that done. They'll do what damage they can to mid. TL finish respawning. Drowsy again. Slap down. Jensen getting low. Does pop the ulti for a bit of trade damage as Smoothie lanterns Bjerg out to safety.
Things looking really good here for TSM. Bjergsen has been winning in that mid lane. The bot lane 2v2 kill went to TSM, and top lane has been all TSM. They are going to lane swap out here. Try to get Doublelift up here to try to push this in and knock down some additional turrets. I'm interested to see what TL's plan really is going to be with Impact, because yes, you can have Yorick group and come to a team fight, but Yorick is just awful at team fighting.
At least they're trying to get down this turret. Team Liquid looking to continue to trade objectives. They are one of the best teams even when behind and making sure stuff still happens. So Liquid keep the gold nice and close. They actually move themselves up briefly in advantage for turrets. But TSM looking pretty solid so far. We've seen Liquid fall behind in some early games. A TSM, the team to knock them off their roost, as Zven is once again a little too far forward. Cool, good flash. Xmithie, they're going to kick him back, and no flash will save you.
Straight into the bounce house there, gets knocked around by the Lee Sin and Alistar. And that was a very quick reaction from Zven. Well done by him to actually even escape the initial play, but they do kill him off anyway. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, though, again, the same story remains true. No cleanse.
Oh, good hook. The Battlestar are actually going to miss, but I think that's all they needed. There's Jensen going to grab the kill. He is low, but Triumph gives him just a bit of extra health to keep him safe.
TSM are actually going to get 2 towers off of that. So despite the fact that TL got 1 kill and 1 tower, it is a kill in the mid lane to answer, as well as another tower on the bot side here for Jackson. Broken Blade is just playing this very, very well. He's also being so intelligent, actually. One of the few pro players I've seen really focus on actually killing off the ultimate, which is most of the combat power of Yorick. You need to actually focus that down, so he's going aggressively forward with his Counter-Strike and actually just targeting that ult.
Oh, Xmithie falling asleep at the wheel. Akaadian with the ulti, he's gonna land the stun, they'll jump in, they'll get another pick up here. And now CoreJJ's caught out, he doesn't have his ulti, he's gonna get CC'd up forever as TSM find pick after pick.
TSM are just taking full control of this game now. No way they're able to contest against Broken Blade on this side of the map. He now even has a red buff. They're gonna knock down yet another tower here. And I don't know if TL is gonna be able to hang on in this one. This is by far the worst they have looked in a game. This is the first time they really feel like they're on the precipice of losing a game. And here it is one more time. CoreJJ sneaking in, and watch how fast Zven was on the reaction. CoreJJ comes right out. That was a flash, immediately answering the one from CoreJJ, but Smoothie is behind him, so no way out. And then on the other side of the map, back to the mid lane, Bjergsen going in, nails the bubble onto Jensen there, and then the hook easily follows it up. There's no way out of this one. Jensen almost getting the counter kill back onto Smoothie, but not quite having enough, and then down on the bot side again. You're trying to fight in an area that it makes really no sense. This is Impact with no ultimate up on Yorick here. That was already killed off previously before this play. You know that Broken Blade alone is massively stronger than your team. Your mid laner just died. Why are you contesting a 3v4 with essentially 2.5 champions?
And for all the praise we've thrown Liquid for how good they've been, even when they've been down, they have never been in this much of a deficit so far in the Spring Split of 2019. So TSM are really putting this Liquid to the test, who have said, or at least some of them have said, that 18-0 would be nice, but TSM are closing the door pretty quickly on that dream.
So they definitely are, and we'll see if TL can bounce back and kind of reassert themselves in this game. Doublelift is still insanely strong. He is going to be the guy you're looking at to make things happen. But TL has made some very poor decisions on when to contest. The fight around Riftfield, very poor decision. The fight at that red buff, another very poor decision, and that has not been characteristic whatsoever from TL. They have been the team that has been so good at picking those mid-game team fights that despite them sometimes being a little bit behind in gold or even in gold, they always seem to be able to choose the right fights and be better coordinated in them. This is the first time where I have found them a bit lacking in that regard.
I have to agree. I mean, this is a team that is full of an immense amount of talent, and I feel like most of the games have been won using their intelligence, which is a really good thing to see from a team that already knows that individually they're the strongest team on paper. TSM, though, putting them to the test. Akaadian's had a fantastic game here on Sejuani. Bjergsen has taken over the mid lane, and now the rest of the game. And of course, the newest guy, Broken Blade, now with his Spear of Trojan complete.
Yeah, I mean, Impact doesn't even have his Triforce. Broken Blade completed his Triforce, then bought a 3,400 gold item after it.
Yeah.
That is just disgusting. He is so far ahead.
He's an infinity edge away from being like the biggest spender in League of Legends.
That's where you're just daddy Warbucks. You're just rubbing your money in their face at that point. But honestly, I think I favor Broken Blade in a 1v2 over Impact and Xmithie. At this point in the game, with Spear of Shojin and the team map plus Triforce completed, I don't think that they can even 2v1 him anymore.
All right, what about 1v3?
I mean, then it depends on how it goes. I actually think 1v3s are possible to pull off with this because you can get multiple counter-strikes with the Spear of Shojin, which can allow for these ridiculous plays. Of course, if it's played well, Teal certainly should be able to deal that, but they're just going to try to play away from him. They're going to try to force around objectives where he is not.
In onto Akaadian, Lantern is there, stunned up for a while. Xmithie with a kick back. Akaadian, though, Stoneplate pop made him very tanky.
Yeah, that Stoneplate was so critical. He got it up very, very early, and this is what TL was trying to force here. They wanted to get the pick on Akaadian, then start up Baron. Now, Broken Blade never even answered. They didn't get the kill on Akaadian, so you have to send the Yorick back. Broken Blade can now roam up, and TSM has an opportunity to force a fight of their own.
Yeah, you would think that forcing back the enemy jungler would give you more vision around Baron, but Broken Blade's pressure does force Liquid to fall back and not threaten nearly as much. In fact, Broken Blade's going to come back down here, approaching level 16 pretty swiftly as well.
Yeah.
Impact not going to be too silly.
Yeah, if you're Impact and you do not see exactly where
Run
Jax
away.
is, you have to sit under your turret, and you have to wait at that turret, pick up whatever farm Broken Blade deems to give you.
I mean, that is what it's like at the moment. You do have to ask permission.
Please, sir, can I have some farm?
Well, answer is probably no at this point.
Yeah. Just one ranged minion.
Oh, He didn't get the melee.
Yep.
Not get,
Didn't get permission. Got one.
Slim pickings, unfortunately, for Impact here. As TSM continued to, again, move Zven to the side lane, give him all that farm. So now from some of the pressure that he felt in his bot lane, he's gotten a lot more space. And so the rest of the team, Thresh, Zoe, and Sejuani, very good at trying to pick people off, just be annoying and get vision around the Baron. And eventually, Tia will have to make a very tough decision.
Yeah, I mean, Bjergsen is really looking on point this game. This is a guy who is getting solo advantages for himself most of the time. And, you know, beating out Jensen in this lane. Jensen has been looking nigh on untouchable in a lot of the TL games, has been looking so strong. So Bjergsen putting on an incredible performance. And you're seeing just how ahead Bjergsen himself is. He's 2 levels up. CoreJJ gets hit by a sleep. He has to immediately pop the ultimate and run away. You cannot even come close to contesting this guy. That's their front line.
Already heard it on the analyst stats from high. Zoe is so good in Baron bait situations because nobody wants to face check a bubble. And again, the problems are numerous here for Team Liquid. As Xmithie, they are going to go for the initiation. Smoothie Lantern flashes, wants to make sure Bjerg could get out.
Here comes Jax, though. They are behind them, but
I'm
Zven
very
is
afraid for Doublelift. I'm not that afraid for Doublelift now. Jensen loses his Banshees. TSM not quite pulling the trigger just yet. Are going to get the tower, though.
Yeah, they could try to force that, but what's the point when you're getting a guaranteed advantage elsewhere, right? That is one of the things that people have been fairly critical about TSM in other games where, you know, one person is setting up a wave and someone else is like, well, gonna fight. So this time, they do show some restraint. They back off. They get the turret over in the top lane for Zven, and it's right back to bottom lane here for Broken Blade. I just think it's so tough for Doublelift to really get involved in a lot of these fights, even though he is very fed, because there's so little safety for him. If he ever gets hit by a Sejuani ultimate or Counter-Strike from the Jax, you can expect him to instantaneously die.
Bubble as well. I mean, yeah, there's just so many threats here for TSM. And like you said, they kind of have the scaling as well. I mean, TL said, you know what, we're happy to play Sivir, happy to kind of play this game maybe a little longer. TSM are like, okay, we'll draft Jax Kai'Sa, see you at 45 minutes, and it's 26 minutes, and TSM is still 5,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, you need to see big plays coming out from TL, right? When you're this far down in gold with these sorts of compositions, it's no longer down to just executing at a normal level. You have to see some real standout plays, kicking in Bjergsen or kicking in Zven and killing them off instantly. Having CoreJJ interrupt a leap strike from the Jax, you know, and then being able to burst them down. Things like this is what you're looking at to try to turn around a game from this situation. But TSM trying to play around vision, buy the Baron, and we'll see if they can catch Xmithie.
Just being patient, tagged there with the W from Kai'Sa, but it's TSM just defending their control ward, getting a little bit more vision down as Broken Blade continues to shove minions towards Impact and that bot inhibitor turret. Bjergsen as well, playing Siege here in the mid lane. Team Liquid just really have to wait and see what TSM gives them at this point.
Yeah, and it's not been a lot, right? You're going to have to play very safe, and when top advantage is this big, it means that Xmithie is going to have to give up some of his own farm. It's very dangerous for them to even go over and try to challenge for a red buff or Doublelift. These things can get very, very tricky. That being said, certainly the bright spot, Doublelift, we have touched on it. He is now on his Essence Reaver, IE, and Rapid Fire. That is an incredibly strong 3 items. If he does get the time to free fire, he will be able to shred through some of these members.
Very dark out here for Team Liquid. I think want to try and get this Mountain Drake. Perhaps they will blue trinket the Baron and see that TSM aren't immediately on the objective, but that's shot down. Bit of pressure here on this tier 2 in mid, but no one can see Broken Blade or any of TSM here on the TL side. Sleep does just miss for Bjerg though.
That was so close, actually. If that tags Xmithie, that could be lights out for the jungler and a Baron for TSM. TL still doesn't really have vision in the area, but they now get the ward over the wall. They have mid lane control, so TSM, I think, is going to have to try to come and answer some of these waves. And Broken Blade is not showing right now. We don't know if he's going for the inhibitor until just now.
Yep, we can see that. I think Team Liquid now got the info, but TSM just dancing around this Baron, using Broken Blade's advantage. Again, TSM don't need to do anything when this is happening under the turret. Broken Blade onto Impact, looking for the 1v1 solo. Dolo! Easy! So easy for Broken Blade.
Just absolutely destroyed. I'm not even sure why Impact walked back towards him there at all. No chance of winning that. Now they're TPing in for Baron. They are going to commit to it.
TSM, they do want this 4v5 for a while. Xmithie's far away, and this Baron is dying awfully quickly. In fact, it's not even close enough for Xmithie to think about a steal.
And that is the big difference maker. Broken Blade gets the solo kill. TP straight over to Baron, no hesitation, and secures them that objective. And Now it is a Jax who can do that to your Yorick. As we watch this one more time, the E gets missed. He's stacking up the passive, so it's fully stacked straight in onto Impact. He even missed his Counter-Strike there, actually, but Impact turned around, maybe thinking he could actually fight back a little bit with the ultimate out, but no chance in that 1v1 whatsoever, despite the Counter-Strike not landing.
Yeah, cooldown zipping back up with Spear of Trojan active, so Broken Blade just dives in, uses all his buttons, and that's Impact going down, and Baron for TSM. Mountain Drake did go to Team Liquid, so a small bit of solace there for them, but this gold lead has gotten out of control. Yeah. TSM just left to try and crack these inhibitor turrets.
Yep, and it's 4 members of TSM bot. Everyone going after Broken Blade. They're actually flashing for him.
CoreJJ flashed in, Counter-Strike up, Broken Blade there with the redemption as well, gonna heal him back up. TSM maybe now gonna try and find the fight as Broken Blade almost kills Xmithie, 2v5, and now hops back towards his jungler safely. Bjergsen now landing the sleep. Again, TSM just forcing Team Liquid into these abilities.
That was Doublelift's flash, CoreJJ's flash, Xmithie's flash, CoreJJ's ultimate, Smithie's ultimate, and they don't even really get that close to killing him. Zven is just flip pushing on the bot side. There's no way they can deal with this Jax. The damage wasn't in position, and this is looking all TSM.
Yep, sleepy Sivir there. TSM just want to try and see it down. It's in him, Broken Blade working on mid lane, but we'll have to be careful as it could be a 5v4 for TSM here in the bot lane. But again, just safely poking in. Sejuani's nice and tanky. Zven not that healthy, but just have to be patient here.
They don't even have any engage tools though. The ult is down for both Xmithie and CoreJJ, and both their flashes are down. So they just can't get Doublelift involved in this game whatsoever. You know, he's sitting deathless with tons of farm, 3 kills. He can't even attack anyone.
Xmithie also just ties to Akaadian there. Maybe a little too far forward and gets CC'd to death. Maiden out here for the Yorick as TL try to fight back, but that gives Broken Blade free time there in mid lane as he's now bashing down the turret. TSM will claim the bot in here. Broken Blade making sure this minion stays safe. And again, for a team that we've criticized for being disjointed, this is very clinical for TSM as they look to try and close out the game and finally hand Team Liquid their first loss of the split.
Yeah, TSM looking so good here today. Not just beating TL, but devastating them in this one. And they're going to take the second inhibitor here. We'll see if they just want to stay around. I think they will back up, spend all the gold that they just got, and look to make this a guaranteed win as they are so far ahead.
Yeah, I quickly checked the gold. I saw 5 ones in front of 5 players, so they have a lot of gold to spend. As you can see now, 8,000 gold ahead, so had a significant chunk of money still to spend. But at this point, what can Team Liquid do?
Hope that TSM trolls. That is what you can do. Broken Blade is 5,500 gold ahead on a champion that outscales. At this point, I actually think I bet on him in a 1v3.
All right,
so,
we've upgraded to 1v3 finally for the Jack.
I think it's pretty unlucky game. I think this is one of the ones that, you know, the only real hope is kind of what TL did on Jax last time, but everyone is there and he instantly dies, right? If you could do something like that, then the game is approachable. If you erase all of his gold off the map, then all of a sudden you're not really behind. But those picks are so tough to pull off, and you know, he is a very tanky guy. He actually has a lot of health in this build. He has the stopwatch. The ultimate is giving him extra resistances. It's going to be so tough to actually take him down here.
And again, for all the praise we can throw Broken Blades this way, all of TSM have played well, not just individually. Yep. Bjergsen had a great job in his lane. Zven and Smoothie had that good play, then an oopsie, but that continued to play solid from there. And Akaadian has been wonderful all game long as well.
And Akaadian really was a huge difference maker in the early stages of getting Broken Blade ahead, right? And once he was ahead, he certainly made the most of it, but lots of credit to Akaadian. Played incredibly well in the early stages, and his last-ditch efforts here for TL.
The dream scenario for Zoe, sieging, just throwing bubbles through your enemy's base as Team Liquid struggle to keep their structures alive.
I mean, Doublelift just basically full build, right? He's on the 5 items and has a Hex Drinker that's not yet a Ma. So again, that is the hope. But we have seen he's not able to even really approach the fights, and now he has no flash, so that makes it even more difficult if Jax flashes on him. Even if you spell shield the Counter-Strike, I think you instantly die.
Yeah, we can see Zven also doing some split pushing of his own, but much more cautious this time for TSM. I think they picked a comp that we maybe said didn't fit their style given how disjointed they look, but have played exceptionally well to get the game to this point. A lot to celebrate here for TSM fans, but the sweetest celebration of all is the exploding Nexus. Team Liquid going to do everything in their power to try and prevent it.
And TL does have great wave clear with this Sivir as well as the Syndra. They are holding on, and it may be that TSM wants the Baron to really guarantee that they close this out cleanly. Baron is going to be spawning in 40 seconds, but the longer you wait, the more opportunities you do give your opponents. So we'll see. With that being said, TL doesn't have any wards really over in the Baron vicinity at all. So TSM, they know if they keep them pinned into their base for these next 30 seconds, they can run straight over to that Baron pit and kind of have free reign on that area of the map.
Yeah, Zven goes back, buys a second needlessly large rod, so working quickly towards the death cap here after the Ginsus has gone all AP. Bubbles again, that one hit Doublelift. But again, Bjergsen just playing some poke, good ult from Akaadian, but not quite enough to take down Double with the Mercurial Scimitar up.
There's no one answering Broken Blade though, so TSM just needs to buy time here.
There's ult onto Bjergsen, almost gets the kill, but Broken Blade again, able to finish off the top lane inhibitor turret. And now with Baron up, TSM can just run back there as Broken Blade continues to run Team Liquid around.
Yeah, he doesn't care about Yorick at all. If
Yeah.
the other members show, he will run right at Impact, right at the inhibitor. There's nothing Impact can do here. If you walk up, you just die. So it's going to be a triple inhib now for TSM. Just moving TL around the map. They're poking away at them. They're getting some good trades back and forth. As you say, Bjergsen almost went down, but it doesn't matter because no one can answer Broken Blade.
And no one can face check Baron.
Yep.
Because you just eat infinite CC and die, so they have to all check together.
They're just going to start it. This is their last hope. They're praying that they can just take a miracle Baron here.
He's on top of a control ward too, which they didn't even bother to kill. So here's the Akaadian looking for the flank. There's the ult from Sivir, Doublelift. I mean, what can Team Liquid really do? All out of options here as Broken Blade TP's in to try and end the game. Hook's gonna miss, but Xmithie gets tagged. CoreJJ in the front side. There's Bjergsen on a killing spree. Zven charges in, takes down Xmithie. And TSM running all over Team Liquid.
That's going to do it. Broken Blade looking for another solo kill on Impact.
And again, they'll just finish them off while they can. Broken Blade wants Impact before he can take down the turret. Flash forward towards the fountain, doesn't quite go all the way in. But Broken Blade, what a stellar performance as he polishes off everything left in TL's base. Jensen falls, the Nexus will die, and TSM will finally slay Liquid.
The first loss of the season for Team Liquid, falling to 7-1. And this is the TSM that their fans were waiting for. This is the resurgence that could spring this team to the top of the standings, looking so good here against Team Liquid. Team Liquid trying a different style, trying to commit to this split push. They blind picked the Yorick, and they are so heavily punished for it. Really strong performance from Akaadian and Broken Blade getting that going. Bjergsen solo winning his lane. 2v2 kill in the bot side for Zven and Smoothie. This was TL looking outclassed in a game for the first time this whole season.
Yep. Finally, a 1 in the loss column for Team Liquid as TSM. Actually with a 2-0 weekend, I believe. It looked kind of rocky yesterday, but they did manage to pull out the game. And here against Liquid, either their preparation or their class or whatever it is showing, because TSM just run them over in this game.
And this is back-to-back games now we have seen where Sivir is drafted without a proper frontline, gets to a very strong point in the game, but what could Doublelift really do? I mean, the guy is sitting at 434 farm at 36 minutes. He's full build, he's 3-0, but he has no opportunity to actually attack without a proper frontline. And that, I think, is one of the downfalls of Sivir and why I don't like that pick without tanks surrounding it. You're just too short range to really get involved.
And TSM exploited that to the fullest, playing the 1-3-1, leaving Zven in the side lane. Akaadian got Broken Blade ahead, who never left the side lane. That was an extremely rough game for TL to win, and unfortunately for them, they did pick themselves into that situation.
Yeah, and TSM, I think, played better around the conditions that were set in the game, right? Sure, Doublelift gets ahead, but if the rest of his team is behind, he has no one to guard for him, so he can't actually use his lead, whereas Akaadian focused all his time on the top side, got Broken Blade going, and no one could answer him at all.
I mean, even the early tracking that TSM did of Xmithie, this is a guy that constantly feels like he outsmarts you in the jungle, but they tracked him for almost 5 straight minutes, it felt like, and I think TSM just did everything right with the knowledge they gave themselves. Apart from, again, the oopsie on the bot side, which started with a cool 2v2 kill, TSM made almost no mistakes in the game. And this is a team that has been making quite a few mistakes.
Yeah, very, very clean play. I mean, Akaadian taking one scuttle, forcing Spider on the next, stealing the first blue as a result. They're constantly invading. They're taking away multiple blues, increasing that advantage that Bjergsen had already built for himself over Jensen. There were so many things that they did right in this game that it's certainly very encouraging and very exciting to see Broken Blade have such a dominant game.
Certainly on a pick like Jax, Ovally is standing by with TSM's victorious mid laner.
Thanks, guys. Bjergsen, congratulations on the win. First 2-0 weekend for TSM and completely stopping Team Liquid's chances of going undefeated this split. How big of a win is this for you?
I don't think it's a big win because we stopped their streak. I've been in their shoes and I know how hard it is to just continue winning when you're doing so well, both in scrims and on stage. But I think this was an important match for us, especially since we feel like we're a strong team, but we haven't really been able to show it. And even against Opta yesterday, we didn't show kind of our best side. So I'm really happy that we managed to play a good game today.
What were your expectations coming into this weekend with the off and on performance over the past few weeks?
I didn't really have any expectations because there was a big focus in translating our scrim performance and how we communicate, how we play onto the stage. So it's just a matter of kind of testing and seeing what things work, what things don't work. And I think that we're definitely not there yet, that we're playing nearly as well as I know that we can play, but it's getting there and it's getting a little better week by week.
So maybe it's the new beard talking for me, but when I see you as this TSM captain with all of this wisdom to give to the new additions on the team. What do you see as the potential growth opportunities for this roster?
I mean, I think there's a ton. I think Broken Blade is such a new player. He has played competitively before, obviously, but it's new for him to be in this kind of environment. And he's really fast to learn, and he's a great addition, just being kind of the heart of the team and bringing people up. He's always doing our pregame speeches. It's kind of a meme, but you know, they get us on the same page, and we all love him for it. I think Broken Blade really showed that he got the counter pick to Yorick this game, and he managed to pull a lot of weight and just trash Impact in the split push. So I'm really happy he had such a great game today.
And we're about to start the second round of round robins next week. Are there any teams on your radar now that you've taken down Team Liquid?
I mean, I think just our rematch against TL will be the biggest. I think there aren't teams that are bad. Even we played against Opta yesterday, and they completely dumpstered us in the early game, and they played extremely well. So I don't think there's any team for us really to beat, but there's also no rollover team, so we have to go hard at every match.
So last question for you. I believe we have Steve, Team Liquid Steve, joining us on the analyst desk after this interview. Is there anything that you want to say to him?
I'm not here to trash talk Steve. If you want trash talk for Steve, you're going to have to find Reggie. Maybe he's somewhere in the crowd, but I mean, I think Steve did a good thing putting this incredible roster together with such a great coaching staff, and we learned a lot scrimming these guys. They destroyed us in scrims for the first few weeks, and then we started becoming more competitive with them, and I think a big part of us being able to beat them today is scrimming them and learning from them. So,
Bjergsen, thank you and congratulations again. Let me know if you find Reggie. I'm going to go track him down. But that's it for us here. Let's hear from you guys at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Ovally. We couldn't find Reginald, but we found the next best thing, quite literally, in the Team Liquid team owner here with, we've got Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, I'm good.
It's like a loser.
I'm sad to be here. Yeah, I wish I wasn't here.
Yeah, I feel bad because James was the one who made the bet with you where he was going to dye his hair if you guys went undefeated, and then if you lose, you had to come on and do the segment. And he's not here to rub it in your face.
Yeah, I know, so...
we need to do it for him,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
How's it feel? It feels great, right?
Feels really poorly bad. Yeah, I was about to say something I shouldn't.
I gotta say, it's an even bigger punishment since it is me instead of him. So I think it all works out in the end, and everyone can be properly sad about this one. Not only did Dash sort of call it, but so did Jack. If you can read his comment at the bottom, basically says that TSM is indeed going to crush TL. They're a top 3 team. TSM Wrath will be swift. Peasants don't believe in them. LMAO, all the above.
The most important thing is the last sentence. You can quote me on this. TSM is going to crush TL.
We are quoting him.
We are,
Yeah.
yes, because he told us to.
Is he a prophet or something?
He is.
Because not only did they win, they literally crushed Team Liquid, and it's like surprising.
Did you guys have a bad week in scrims? Why did he think?
We actually did have a really bad week in scrims. So
Were you scrimming TSM? Is that what happened? Like what?
No. We were playing scrims and we were losing a good number of them, and the meta's changed. So we're trying some different stuff. I don't think we've put impact on a split push top laner. I think picking Yorick first pick and having counters to it and just thinking that they're not gonna, a bit questionable. So lesson learned. And yeah, Jack was right about this, but I don't see him saying that he's gonna actually win a championship this split. So.
And you're still 9-1 at the end, or you're 8-1? 8-1 at the end of the day?
7-1, yeah.
7-1? 7-1?
Yeah,
respectable.
He's made it out of
Pretty good.
groups. That's important.
I mean, I think the draft overall makes decent sense if you camp top lane, but I think they didn't play around. You guys didn't play around top lane nearly as well as.
Well, they tried one time where they did a 2v2 top, but they had to run because they don't win that 2v2. Like, Lee Sin doesn't beat Sejuani. You saw Sejuani beat him at both scuttles, took his forest, and there's no way you win that 2v2. So even if you send Lee Sin with the Yorick, how do they beat a Sejuani Jax?
I mean, you have to outplay it, bait out the counter-strike and stuff like that.
There's just no way you're winning that fight.
Here's the thing is that Yorick doesn't have as good of a team fight as Jax, right? Jax has a better late game than Yorick, and Yorick is weaker in the earlier game than Jax.
So what is Yorick?
Why are you picking, first picking Jax, I'm sorry, first picking Yorick and then leaving a counter? So it doesn't make much sense. So the win conditions kind of, you know, they disappear.
And maybe you take the bet that, you know, Jax isn't ready to go for them or something, or that you've pigeonholed enough champions that like the last pick Jax gives you advantages elsewhere. It is something I found really interesting is this week, because we had the discussion a little bit during the previous game about teams picking red side and it being kind of weird, but we've had several games in a row now where red team gets to get this really sick top lane counter pick. We had Viper's Riven do really well. We had Malphite out of solo. Now this Jax, where it's like, oh, this is a really free matchup. I can 1v5 this game, and it's kind of coming through. And that's been cool to see that we've had some really good plays top lane because of this. First, let's talk about TL having some good things. Of course, around Doublelift, this has looked very good. He was very far ahead in this game. This is a really sick play out of CoreJJ as well.
Yeah, here you go, Steve. This is your chance to talk good about your team.
I mean, I think you guys all saw yesterday in CoreJJ's flank. I mean, that was just brilliant. It was planned out like 2 minutes in advance. You could just kind of see how he's repositioning, and you can see here, like, his Alistar is just amazing in the landing phase, and he was able to get this flank. That's just a spectator bug, but, you know, pulling off plays consistently throughout the game to find picks and using vision. So, you know, definitely really star performance from CoreJJ.
Great pickup in the offseason for sure.
Yeah,
he's been doing well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course, the problem is Jax gets so far ahead that even though Sivir is doing great, she's not one who's going to kill him through counter-strike in a team fight, and this Jax gets farther and farther ahead. Here's a nice kill in the top lane for the TSM side of things.
This is actually a really good gank from Akaadian, the way that he dashes in and throws the ult. There's just no reaction from Impact there, even though the top lane brush is warded.
And then Team Liquid can't even do anything on the other side of the map. You saw them try to take Dragon, but they got pushed off that as well. So they literally have nothing going for them now.
Yeah, and this was just rushed, right? Like, TSM has the numbers, Syndra's coming from base. You know that you can't go in and contest this Dragon. You need to play a little bit slow. We played it too fast, and you see TSM punish that.
It was definitely a thing, too, with how much was going right in the bot lane. You could have maybe, like, soft sack top lane as opposed to continue to contest these kind of fights, because they just kept getting worse and worse. And
you kind of have to abandon ship at that point, you know? If I'm in that game, I'm like, you know, top lane's a little bit doomed, guys.
More eggs in the double
bot lane is strong. We're all in on this. Put me all in on Doublelift, and then you see that Doublelift never really even got the fight. Like in these team fights, he gets like 3 autos, he has to flash out instantly, doesn't get to do anything. Pretty depressing for him.
Yeah, it's a tough game for Doublelift, for sure.
So is this the impacts done on carries for the rest of the split?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. I think, you know, we have come out really strong, as you can see. We're 7-1. This is how we finish. That matters, right? What kind of team are we when it comes to playoffs, and are we going to win another championship? And, you know, it sucks that the first loss that we have is to TSM. I wish it was to Golden Guardians instead or something. And so now I'm going to hear it from Andy for like the next couple weeks, which you know, it's not great, but.
Well, I mean, you still have the record over him, right? Like 7-1 right now. You definitely look, even with despite this game, you guys are still performing really well. And like you have a lot to learn from, right? If Impact can learn how to play split pushers and carry tops, that makes your team even that much stronger. Outside the carry threat you have mid and bot, if Impact become a huge carry threat as well, then your team is going to be one to be reckoned with come Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes you just have to falter a bit, you know, take those lessons, and the guys, they're going to go back and they'll be like, oh, this is what it feels like to lose with this team.
That's
this is our first loss, right?
That's our excuse.
I bet you that review is going to be more productive than the last 4 reviews that we've had.
I'm sure the staff is pumped, because the staff the whole time was like, we don't care about undefeated. Now that they've lost, they can stop hearing us talk about it.
Off. There's a lot of pressure when you're undefeated.
All right, final question to you. You mentioned you didn't really want to have your first loss beat at TSM.
Yeah.
Who do you most want to beat in the finals at the end of it all? When you eventually make it there and you 3-0 somebody, who's it going to be for
it's
you?
100%, without a doubt, Cloud9.
3-0 Cloud9?
Yeah, the reason why is because, you know, Jensen was unable to ever win a championship on Cloud9 for his entire career there, so it would feel great to just beat them in the finals and for Jensen to hold the trophy. Yeah.
Great, cool. Okay, there you go. Prompter's back, we're ready to go. Thank you for joining us, Steve. Best of luck with your 8-1.
I appreciate it, guys.
And moving on upwards from there, FlyQuest versus Clutch Gaming is up next for Game 4. We'll see who comes out top.
Gonna try and keep shooting him down. The Ignite on the call this time around. Zven with the damage. Flash play for Smoothie. Look at the hook and that's first blood. TSM in the 2v2.
I can go. I got him. Oh, no.
Syndra's here now.
It's fine, guys.
I got him, I think.
Okay.
Nice.
Well
played.
Good job.
Zven is once again a little too far forward. Cool, good flash. Xmithie are going to kick him back and no flash will save you.
Lee. Nice.
Yeah,
Alistar as well.
Syndra will come from base eventually.
Hooking Alistar.
It's fine. Back.
Nice.
Jensen falls, the Nexus will die, and TSM will finally slay Liquid.
You got your own car with your own insurance.
Thanks, Steph. No more driving that old hand-me-down.
Surprise!
No, I'm not gonna get a date in this.
We had a lot of great dates in this car.
No, ew.